Hi, it's Rachel at From Moments to Milestones, and we have a new paper pad card class for you featuring the Secret Garden 6x6 Mega Pad from Carta. So I have the remainder of mine here. When you order a paper pad card class kit, you will also get the remainder of the paper pad that I used to create the kits. I've actually cut 2 full sets from this, and I still have a full set of paper left and lots of scraps. Um, we are going to now do 5 cards. We used to do 7. We're going to trim it down to 5. And then I do have a couple bonus cards that I made from the scraps. But I'll just kind of show you um, just using their cut apart so you could quickly make those if you wanted to from your scraps. If we have time in video, I'm going to see how long it takes. Maybe I'll put those together as well. But you wouldn't have anything kitted up for those. But these are the 5 cards that we'll make. Hello, thinking of you. Happy birthday, your tops in my book. Until further notice, celebrate everything and thinking of you. With the kit, you will get written instructions with a picture of each card. And I typically list the supplies I use, but those did not make it to the instructions this time. So let's go ahead and start with this card here. Hello, thinking of you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this part of my card together just to get these pieces out of the way. So we're going to put this yellow pattern paper down onto the white card base. And this is a landscape card. There we go. And then the books are going to go at the bottom. Okay. So now we're going to focus on our book. You've got 2 of the white book die cuts and a blue one. So with the blue we're going to leave as is. But with the white, we're going to go in and cut the pages out. So they are just attached in 3 different spots, and we're just going to go cut those away. So I'm just following that line of the page to the center and then just snipping that off. So you're going to end up with a piece that looks like that. We're going to do that again with this one. So here from the edge to the center of the perforation. Okay, and we don't need these. We can toss those. And I'm going to fold those up. This first one we're going to glue straight to the blue, right where it goes. So now we have a blue book cover with white pages. All right, on this one, I'm going to get some foam. I think I'm going to use some foam strips. And I'm going to put foam strips along the edge of each page. And then I'm going to put wet glue right over that perforated spot. And I'm going to press down the perforation on top of the one that's there. And then, oh, I did not make sure that was straight. Oh, I don't want to rip it. It's fine. It just looks like by doing that, you're going to get the pages look like they're open and you get some dimension. Okay. And then you have these 2 pages that have kind of cut words into them, and we're just going to glue those straight down. Okay, so we have our little book done, and now we need to color our die cuts. So you should have 3 of these stemmed florals and then 3 of the actual flowers. And one thing I didn't say is these I use Distress Oxide inks. And these are the 5 colors I use: Spun Sugar, Scattered Straw, Speckled Egg, Peeled Paint, and Barn Door. For these flowers, we're going to use the peeled paint and the spun sugar. And I am just using a sponge dauber to color those. So let's do the flowers first. Okay. And then I'm pretty sure I did green on mine. You could come in here and do these pink if you want, because they're just going to get glued over the top. But on my sample, I think I did this whole thing in green, but that's fine. Whatever you want to do. Then I'm going to take the green, get the leaves, so those are done. And then we have this little feather quill pen. Forgot about that. So we're going to need the speckled egg for that. Okay, so we have all of our die cuts colored. I should have started with that so they had time to dry. But let's layer our pink flowers onto our stems. All right. Let's take our book, and it is going to get glued straight down to the center of our card base. I'm just got it slightly turned to the left. And then we're going to put our flowers there. So we have our hello and the thinking of you, which the thinking of you is a little longer on the one side. That was just so I could stamp it. So I'm just going to come in and trim that down. And then that's going to go right under the hello. So I'm going to pop up the hello. That on there first. Right there. And I'll tuck in the thinking of you. These floors, I did not pop them up. I just glued them down. All right, and then we have the little quill pen. I did pop that up. Foam on that. And I just have it over here to the on the right. We're done with that card. All right, this is our next card. Happy birthday. This one has lots of little book die cuts. So we will start there. Let's see. Actually, we need to color the shelves. Let's do that first. So we have, I did forget about one color. You're going to need a brown. So I'm using Walnut Stain Distress Oxide, and I'm going to start with that. And I'm just going to completely cover the die cut. All right, so those are both covered. Let those dry, and then we're going to put our books together. So you have these books that have the little edge. These are stacking books, like where you can see the side of them. So you're going to have pink. They're double-sided, but you can kind of tell which one's the right side. So you should have 4 of those, 5 of those. Okay. I'm going to lay those out. And then you should have coordinating white die cuts with lines. These are the insides of the book, the pages. So you're going to have to play around with placement and sizes. So we're just going to try to line them up. There's shorter books and longer books. This is a shorter one. And then this is a skinnier book. And I believe you're going to have an extra. And I think it's a skinny white piece that we can just toss. You're not going to need that. We only have one skinny book, so I'm going to toss that one. They cut 3 at a time, so I just included them all. All right, so once you get them where they need to be, we're just going to glue them down. And this flatter part's kind of rounded. Lines up to the edge of the book like so, and then you'll still have a spine back here. If that makes sense. So that's how they line up. All right, we've got our 5 stacking books done. And now you should have the spine view of these books. There's 4 of them. Okay. And then in your kit, you had 2 strips of white. One's thicker and shorter in length. Set that one aside. We need this skinny one. And for these books that have decorative spines, we're just going to glue that white behind it so that the white shows through. And then we'll just trim it off. So put that down. Take my scissors and trim that edge off. And dark pink. And the light pink. Now, if you want this solid blue one, you could put the white behind so that all your books have the same thickness. Make it a little more sturdy. It's up to you, or you can just leave it alone. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it just so that it's sturdy. All right, so we have all those books created. And then the last thing we need to do is you have this little vase or planter and this little piece of greenery. So I'm going to just put a dot of glue on that greenery and just glue it behind my planter like so. All right, so we've got all of our pieces ready. I don't know what I did with the happy birthday. Oh, it's right here. Okay. And then the last thing, this is a detail you can do if you want. You can skip it. I don't know if you can see on my card, try to catch the light, but right here and these S's, I put some gold luster wax from Sizzix on there just to add some gold, kind of pull that gold in from the happy birthday. So I just have a little stick here, and I'm just going to rub that on those two areas. A Q-tip would probably work good here. You could use your finger. But if you don't have luster wax, you could add glitter, gold ink, a glitter pen would work, or you can just leave it brown. It's a very subtle detail and no one's going to know if you leave it off. All right. All right, so let's put our card together. We're going to start. We're going to put this pink stripe. My glue keeps stopping. I must have something stuck in there. Put the pink stripe paper at the bottom of our floral paper. And I'm doing that first because I think this pink stripe is longer. That way I can trim that off. And then I will put both pieces onto my card base. And it's centered with a very thin white border. Okay. And then you have this white cardstock that acts as our trim. And that is just going to go right over the seam. Okay. And now for our shelves. So I think this shelf could be used either way, like so, or with these bookends. So we're going to use it that way. And then this one goes on top. So I'm going to play around with the placement before I glue those down because I want to make sure that I have room for everything I'm putting on there. So like if I glued it like that, I'm not going to have room. I need to pull that down to about right there. I'm going to start with that one. Okay, so my book. Centered. Let's see. All right. I could use my Q-square, make sure it is great. I did pretty good. It could come down a little. Perfect. All right. And then for this one, we've got the thick yellow book and the skinny blue book stacked. And we want to have room for a planter. Sit on top. So I'm going to get it centered on there. Okay. Let's make sure it's straight. All right. We've got our shelves on there. And now we can go ahead and stack up our images. So I'm going to get back that thick yellow book. And then the skinny blue book. Planter. You can pop any of this up that you want. I did not pop anything up. And then I have this light pink book on its side. And we need pink. Whoops. And then I have this blue one tilted. And then we're going to finish with the happy birthday just right over that seam there. And I did pop that up. Right. We're done with that card. All right, our next card is Happy Birthday, your top's in my book. So, let's start with this. We're going to take this green polka dot paper and we're going to put it at the very top of the card and just center it on the card. It doesn't need to go all the way to the edge. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to cover it up. Okay. So we're actually going to, before we do that, let's do this. You need to find your label, the Your Tops in My Book strip, and this black strip. So first I'm going to glue the sentiment onto the label. It just gets centered. Okay. And then this is a die cut. I think it's supposed to be like a string or cord. So what I did was cut it in half and then I put it through and folded it and wrapped it. So you can do that if you want. This time I'm going to show you another option. We're going to put it behind the label and just glue it like that. And I think it will go edge to edge. Yes. Okay. I'm just going to put it on there. I'm just going to put glue on the edges so I can move that cord if I want. So I'm going to center it on the bottom of this frame, and it's going to be about 1/4 inch from the bottom. Okay, so just like so. And now that piece doesn't move. Yes. When I get it where I want it, then I'm going to glue those down as well. So it's up to you. Like I said, I cut mine in half and wrapped it around and then wrapped it around the back, but this might be a tad easier. And then if there's any hanging over, we can just snip it off. All right, so there's that. And I'm going to put foam on the back and put that down onto my card base. Okay, I have the backing removed from the foam on the frame, and I'm just going to stick that down onto the card base. All right, so that part's ready. Now you have a few images to color and fussy cut. We're going to fussy cut the happy birthday. You can just cut a strip if you want, but I felt like it covered up too much of the scenes, so it's up to you. And then I honestly just used a couple Crayola colored pencils. I'm going to get those out. I used gray, pink, and green. Oh my goodness. Gray, pink, and green. Okay. I'm just going to color that in. Nothing fancy, no shading. I'm just coloring it in. And I'm going to color the book same color as well. And then I'm going to add some gray for the pages. And then my bunny is white, so I'm just going to add some gray shadows. And then some pink in his ears. Pink nose. That's it. So let's fussy cut those guys out. For his glasses, you could add some blue or something to it. I actually used some glossy accents, so we'll do that at the end. I just left them white. And now I'm just going to cut them out, leave a small little white border as if it were die cut. All right, I have my little pieces colored and fussy cut, and now we're going to put our books together. So we have the spined books like we had in the last card. You should have a long white strip. I don't have one. Oh yeah, I do. Long white strip. And then you should have some stacking books with the white pages. So a set of 3 of those. 3 white pieces. 1, 2. Oh great, looks like I'm missing one. Actually, I think I had to give one away in class, so that's fine. We'll just pretend like it's there and I'll go add it later. I'm going to put the pages in. And if I had the other white piece, I'd put that on the green book. I'll put that in later. All right, and then for these, let's put the white behind. My strip's a little thick. All right, for these two, I'm not going to fuss with that this time. All right, and then you have two books that are open. One you can see the pages and one you can see the cover. So you have a piece that looks like this. These match up. This should just line right up like so. Now you should have had, which I don't have that either, you should have a little bitty rectangle of pink on one side, blue on the other. And that goes inside of your notebook here. I'm just gonna leave my white. It's gonna be fine. I could have went in with some ink and added ink before I glued it, but no big deal. And then this one's pink, and your pages are gonna lay on top like so. They should line right up. So it's gonna look like that. All right. Now we are just going to put our pages in. So these books are going to stack across there. I'm going to start with the pink one. And I popped up the two open books. Everything else I just glued flat. And this one's at a slight angle. Okay, and then this book here, we'll pop that up. I'm just going to put one in the center. Like so. Another book, going to get popped up as well. So, and then the stacking book. One goes here. All right, so I've got my books, all the scenes created. I didn't pop up my worm. I did pop up my bunny. Piece of foam on the back of him. And I have him sitting right on top of the label, right in between the word R and tops. And then we have the happy birthday, which you could pop it up on top if you wanted more dimension. Actually, I think I might do that. You certainly don't have to, but I already have my bunny pop, so there's already double dimension, so I might as well go for it. That just goes centered across the center. And then one last touch would be if you want to put the glossy accents in the glasses. So I'm just going to put a dot. All right, that card is finished. All right, our next card is Until Further Notice, Celebrate Everything. This one has lots of little die cut pieces. We also have a beak and a bird. The bird's eye and beak are on this little piece of yellow tape. So I'm going to pull that out and stick it down. Let's see. Let's start with coloring. That way they have time to dry. So we have this large flower. It's got two pieces, and we're going to use scattered straw with that. And some of these colors that we're going to use to color these images, we need to use a light hand because like this color, if you go real dark, can get more golden than yellow, like I just did there. Which is fine. There's some golden yellow in that paper too, but I was trying to match the yellow. So there's the two yellow. And the green, we're going to use the peeled paint again. What did I do with the, there it is. And you can see I got darker color. I may have went in with Rustic Wilderness. I'm going to let it dry and then try to go back and add some color on top to darken it up. We'll see how that looks. And then that's it for the green. All right, so then we have these three flowers, and we're going to use the barn door. This is one we need to be super light-handed with. I'm going to tap off and then real light, because this can be very dark or it can be a pretty light coral, which is kind of what I'm going for. Now you can see I use the same color on both, so you could get a different effect. I'm going to go a little bit darker. But if you go straight from the pad to paper, instead of tapping off, you're going to get a lot darker color. So there's my flowers. And then you should have the bird pieces. So you should have a bird, a wing, the top of his wing, and his tail feather. And we are going to use the speckled egg for him. All right, there's all the blue. All right, and then the remaining, so I might go back in and try to add some depth with some green here. Just gonna go right at the base of them the second time around, and I'll darken those up and add some dimension. Same thing with the leaves. There we go. You could probably even go in with the speckled egg and get a variation that way as well. And I may go a little darker on this bird. I've got ink on my hands and I'm transferring that to the bird. I'm trying to cover that up. Okay. Clean my hands off. All right, so let's see. You should have 3 of these little flower centers to go in the centers of your red flowers. So for some reason I have 1. I'll have to go back and add those. I think I gave them away in class, so that's fine. And let's put our bird together. For his little wing, I did use a little piece of foam. I'm looking for my foam squares. What did I do with those? There's some black ones. Those will work. All right, so I'm going to put one on his wing and just kind of put that right there. His little tail feather. I'm just here at the narrow edge of it. I'm going to put some glue and then just lay my bird over the top. So and then you have this little piece as part of his wing as well. I'm going to try to make that a little darker if I can. Just for some variation. Glue on that. And it goes right on top of his wing. There we go. And now I'm going to also get his tail. It's a little darker like the wing. All right. So there's my little bird. And then you also have this. This is his face. And that piece is going to go right on there. And you kind of leave a little spot for the beak. So let's find that beak. Now these pieces, I'm going to flip over so the front is showing, and we're going to ink those. So I'm going to use that fossilized, or no, it was scattered straw. So the yellow, on the beak. Pretty concentrated to get more of a golden color. You could even go in and add a bit of that red if you wanted more of an orange. Okay, so there is the beak. And I'm going to glue the beak on first, and I'll tell you why. Because that little face piece fits right, fits right on top of the beak. So we'll line the beak up. The long end fits right on top of where his beak is. And then that little notch goes right like so on the edge of the beak. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. I'll hold it up close. So there's the beak, and that little notch just goes right up against the beak. Okay, go ahead and glue that piece on. Okay, and then we also had black. You could use a black marker. I'm going to go ahead and use black soot, Distress Oxide ink. Since I have it out here, but a black marker would work. I like the Dauber ink because it leaves that white highlight. And then we'll just put that eye in there. All right. Clean up my area a little bit. All right, so there's my little bird. Greenery. Oh, and let's layer up our flower too. So I did pop this up as well. I'm going to put foam right in the center of that two-tone flower. So the way this one works, there's 3 petals with an embossed mark, and then it skips 2, and then it has 1. These 2 fit right inside there, and that's how it goes. And it's a little offset. That's how it's meant to be. So there's your layered flower, and then that white piece goes in the center. So, all right, so we've got all those pieces ready. So let's rest of our card together. So it's up to you. This card could open with the big end on the left, or it could open like so. It's entirely up to you. Okay, I'm gonna probably stick with what I did here. So let's go ahead and put our papers down. So that bird paper goes on the left side. You have a thin white border, and then the blue. Gonna go there. Okay. And then we have a white circle and this sentiment. So it's gonna kind of, it's not quite in the center, it's off to the side. So it's kind of half, and it's not totally half and half. It's about a third of that circle is gonna go there. And this is gonna sit on top, centered. So first, I'm gonna put a little glue right here, and I'm gonna put that right on the edge of it. Okay. So there's that. My hands are so dirty. I need to wash them off. I'm gonna have to use my eraser on that. I just take my sand eraser and get that smudge off of there. It's not dry yet, so. No, I really made a mess of that. Okay. So this is the placement. I am going to put glue on this part. So I'm going to put my finger there so I have an idea of what not to go past. And then I'm just going to come down about, I don't know, a ½ inch, 3/4 from the top. And glue. We're good. Make sure there's no glue because we don't want to glue our card shut. So now it's going to look like that. And now we can layer everything on top. So we have our greenery. And I'm going to cover up my boo-boo there. Perfect. I'm going to put glue on the leaves. Right, so there's that. Our big flower is going to sit in there. I kind of remember now that I'm pretty sure I trimmed off that because it was sticking out on me. So I'm just going to trim it off now. And we might be able to cover it up with a leaf or a flower too. So those 2 leaves go behind big yellow flower. Our bird, I'm going to pop him up. He's going to sit in there. So now I can't see any of that behind him, so I'm going to play around with placement. I don't mind seeing it, but I'm right there. And then these flowers. So we'll have one back in here, one in there. And just fiddle with them until you're happy with them. I am good with that, so I'm going to try to just leave everything where it's at, put some glue down. All right, so all my card is missing is those 2 flower centers, which I will die cut later and tuck those in, but that finishes off that card. Our final card is Thinking of You with these fun little butterflies. So this one will go together pretty easy. This piece is going to get glued straight down to the white card base. A nice white border. Okay. Then you're going to need your butterfly frame. And I'm going to kind of play with the placement of it with the sentiment before I glue it down. So I kind of have the sentiment nestled in right in here. So that's good placement. I'm going to leave the sentiment there and put some glue. I'm actually going to put glue on my hand. My glue bottle keeps, it's got something, I'm going to have to take it apart and wash it out. The air conditioner quit working here. And so I'm sure the glue got a big something wrong with it in here. Didn't like the heat. All right, let's try that again. I'm just going to touch it to the glue. All right, good. Right in there for the placement, centered, perfect. I am going to lay a block over it so that it all gets glued down. All right. Thinking of you, I have on some foam. A little strip of foam on the back. That right there. Okay. And now we have our butterflies. So they are going to fit inside. So I'm going to go put them in. Now, I will tell you, they were cut from a piece of paper. If you want to try to match it up, you can. Nobody's going to notice, I promise. If you just slide them in. It's such a busy pattern that no one can tell. But if you want to try to match it up, you certainly can. Little ones. Okay, so our butterflies are in there. And then what I did, I picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So these, let's see, this one, this one, this one, they're all touching. Okay, and I popped up the edges. So what I did was put glue just in the center of its body. And I need to get the foam. And then I'm going to put a little piece of foam on each wing. Okay, so let's fit that in where it goes. Press down in the center, and then those leaves, the foam will keep them up. Okay, so let me go through. This one is flat. That one in. Some glue in there. This large one is flat. And this little one here is also flat. All right, so this one we're going to do that same thing. And I get foam on the wings. And then I'm going to put just glue in the center of where the body would be. Press and hold. There we go. I'm going to repeat that step with these last 3 butterflies. All right, so I got my butterflies on there. You can kind of see these 5 just like so. We've got the edges raised. The rest of them are flat. You could raise all the edges, make them all flat. You could pop up the whole thing. It's up to you. And then I'm just going to finish off with these gems. So I've got a couple. I've got one here and here. And then I've got one there and there. And then I've got 3 here. All right. And that finishes off that card. All right, so now we're going to talk about these 2 bonus cards. These you won't have card bases for, so you're going to have to find some card bases. But I'm going to show you when you get your kit. Now I'm going to have a lot more and different probably than what you may have, but you should have a pile of scraps that I left you from when I cut the class. So what we're going to look for is I have this and this. They're right next to each other. So I'm going to get out my trimmer maybe. All right, so I found my trimmer. I'm going to trim that off, the scraps. I'm going to trim that off, and then I'm going to trim it in half. So, oops, I didn't get that very well. Let me try that one more time. Okay. I can still see some of the floral. All right, so there's my 2 squares. Okay. And then you should have a scrap of pink with the books on the back. And I'm going to cut that down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. All right, so there's that. And then let's see, we're looking for a stripe, an extra of the stripe. I'm trying to remember what's on the other side of that striped paper. I'm not seeing it. And you could use, if you don't want to use the stripe, you could just kind of copy that. You could do it without. So since I can't seem to locate the stripe, I don't know where it would have went to. It's fine. And then in your kit, I don't believe I used, I'm going to see here. So I'm going to take all my scraps out. You should have 2 full sets of everything plus some stuff I didn't use. So you should have 2 of every solid paper, 2 of these with the sentiments. This is where I got the thank you. And then 2 of every of these, you know, all the different patterns. There may be some patterns in here that I didn't use at all, like this butterfly one I didn't use. I don't believe I used the green keys. So there's some things in there I didn't use. So, I mean, you can make plenty more cards, but these are just, so I'm going to go in, pull out with all the sentiments, because we're going to use those for both of these bonus cards. And I may just forget about that stripe. You probably have a stripe. You should have a scrap with some stripe on it. I'm trying to remember what's on. Oh, yeah. It's on the back. Actually, here it is. So that piece that we cut off, that's where you're going to get that from. So that looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut it at 3/4. And now I have a strip. Now I have everything I need except for, let's cut out this sentiment. So we've got the thank you. And I don't want the butterfly, so I'm going to just go to the edge. So it's about 2 1/2. And we've got the thank you. So just that easy. I should have a card base around here somewhere. Let's hope so. Oh yeah, I've got one. Ready to go. All right, so I've got a card base. I'm going to add my pink paper. And it fully covers the card base. Okay. And then we've got that strip and these 2. So it's going to look something like that. So I'm pretty sure I popped that up. So let me put some foam on it. I'm just going to take off this and this one. All right. So that piece, if I'm looking at my sample, it's kind of like so, and then this is straight. Okay. And then I will pull off the rest of those. I'm going to put glue on that floral. And we're going to put it just like so. This piece, we're going to need to trim it off. And I add it just like that. Trim off the edge. And then we have the thank you, which I'm also going to pop up. I just need it on the right side, and the other side I can use regular adhesive so it adheres to that bird bath square. So that's going to sit right in there like so. And then you have a nice little bonus card. You could go in with some glue and glitter and really jazz it up. Those flowers would be fun. Other than that, you've got a quick, easy card. So there's bonus card number 1. And then bonus card number 2. So what we need, we're going to need from our that strip, we want the thanks so much. So we're going to leave that out to cut. And then we need that floral strip, which is, let me look through what I've got. I believe it's, yes. So it's going to be blue on one side with floral on the other. We're going to use both. And then we need that yellow, which we did not use at all. So you're going to reach in here and grab out a full sheet with the butterflies and the yellow on the back. I am going to cut this down to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then this piece, let's see, I'm going to measure it because I'm not quite sure. So we need a piece that's 1 3/4. So I'm going to cut that first. So there's the 1 3/4. And then here I'm just going to cut, let's see, what do we have left? I don't want the part with the circle. We have 1.5 inches left. So I'm going to cut it at 3. I want 2 3/4 inch strips. This piece I'm going to toss, and we're going to use the blue side. Okay. Well, I've got our trimmer out. We're going to trim out the thanks so much. All right. We've got all those scraps, and we need another card base. All right. So we've got a card base. I am going to first, let's do this. I want to put the blue behind this floral. So what I'm going to do is we're going to trim off some excess anyway, but I'm going to put a strip of glue on each end of that floral piece. And I'll start with the top. I only want a little more than 1/8 of an inch showing. I'm just going to line it up like so. And then on the bottom, I have probably 3/8, a little more than 1/4 of an inch. So maybe 3/8 showing. All right, so now I have that block. Now I can put glue on the back of that. And we're going to put it on this yellow piece. And I have the thin blue at the top and the thick at the bottom. I'm just going to line it up where I think it looks good. And I'm going to let it hang off both sides so I can cut it straight. So there it is. And then I'm just going to snip off the excess. You could use your trimmer if you wanted. All right. And this piece is going to go on to the card base. You have a thin white border. And then this thanks so much, just as is. I'm going to put some foam on the back. And I'm just going to lay that over that seam right there. A little bit of the blue showing, and just like that, you have a quick, easy card. All right, guys, that does it for this card class. I hope you enjoyed this paper pad, The Secret Garden from Carta. I got these couple bonus cards that we created. I hope maybe you can make those and many more from the remainder of your paper pad. If you have any questions, leave them below and I'll do my best to get back with you. And thanks so much for watching. If you want a kit, you can search us up on the web at FromMomentsToMilestones.com and search for our card kits there. This is called the Secret Garden Paper Pad Card Class. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.